Hello there. Today we're going to look at a very exciting project. It's in the New Forest and it's not far from Lyndhurst. There are approximately 100 plantations in the New Forest which are managed by Forestry England. One of these enclosures is managed under licence by a conservation trust. Its aim is to restore an area of coppice woodland and to help the public enjoy traditional woodland skills. In the relatively short time the Trust has been working this area, the wildlife has increased amazingly. Butterflies, insects, wildflowers. These are the hazel stalls, as they're called, which were cut back several years ago, and the wood is coppiced in rotation so that certain parts of the wood have got very low growth, other parts have got higher growth as the coppices mature. Many of these coppices in the New Forest were replaced by conifer plantations. Coppicing started to die out in the 1800s and was only brought back for a short period during the First World War to provide the charcoal for the filters in gas masks. Coppices are good for wildlife and biodiversity, and they also lock up carbon. The old way of making charcoal was a very skilled business, and took a long time to do, and the charcoal burner would need a hut like this one in the picture here, and they would be there for days tending the earth kilns. Piles of wood were put together with earth over the top. It needed a lot of skill to manage them. This is a picture taken during the First World War of kilns in the New Forest. The modern kiln is called the retort kiln, and it's very much more sophisticated and causes very little smoke. The wood is loaded inside an inner chamber, which is then closed, and an outer chamber, a fire is lit beneath it to start it off. What initially looks like a lot of smoke, it's actually steam which is coming off the moisture from the wood inside the kiln. Until that moisture is burnt off, the process doesn't properly start. Eventually the wood inside the kiln starts to give off gases which fire the process on its own. All the work of cutting the wood, coppicing, carrying the wood and bringing it over to the kiln and running the kiln is all done by these dedicated volunteers who just love working in the woods. As the kiln reaches the right temperature for the gases to come off the wood, Derek has to check the moisture content of the vapours coming off, because eventually he will then cap them, and then the process of carbonising the wood will start to begin. This process from this point will take about 4 hours to make the charcoal, which when you think that years ago it would take days and days, and they were actually burning some of the charcoal. The idea is the charcoal doesn't burn, it just carbonises. This hasn't been a normal year for the Trust because there were a lot of other activities which would take place, like chair building and other woodland crafts that people can come along and enjoy. One of the main problems with coppicing is keeping the deer out, and you can see here that the volunteers have made these wattle fences which to some extent keep out at least the roe deer, but it is essential that the young coppice stalls don't get nibbled. You can see they look quite well protected inside there. The Pondhead Conservation Trust has won many awards. It's such a good charity, it helps lots of people. So if you buy the charcoal, you're helping to conserve the New Forest. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that little look at Pondhead Conservation Trust. Goodbye.